Mabena family. My name is Tabiso Tema, and I am a presenter of the Power Drive on Power 98.7. It is indeed a somber occasion. However, it's also a special occasion when we gather to salute, pay tribute, and celebrate a giant of a man, a truly larger-than-life character, a son, a husband, a father, a brother, a friend, and to those of us who were honored and privileged to have him in this building with us, we got to call him a colleague. He was so many different things to so many different people. But before I go any further, let me just take this opportunity to dumedisa bagolo and the Mabena family and allowing us and for joining us and allowing us to be a part of this send-off for your son that so many loved so much. And it is to those multitudes and those millions that are joining us via our social media platforms, that are joining us as well on SABC and on ENCA, that I wish to direct myself to right now and send an apology on behalf of this dreaded virus that we call COVID-19, that has denied us the right to mourn and to celebrate as we do as a people. An essential part of us has been taken away by the new protocols that we have to follow. I have no doubt that this building would certainly not have been large enough to accommodate all the people that would have wanted to pay their respects to Bob Mabena, the Gemma Mabena. But as I'm sure Maruti ba rona ba baleng fa le rona will also agree with me, no lockdown formed against us will prosper. It will not stop us from celebrating this wonderful, wonderful man. So I say to you, joining us and listening to us on whatever platform you happen to be with now, welcome to you as well. Even though we were the last stop for the Gemma, a career that spanned more than 3 decades necessarily means that the man has walked through many doors in that time. So we have with us many people who have been with Bob at various times in his life. So we welcome you all and thank you as well for joining us, albeit that we cannot be together in person. So, as I said, Bob Mabena was so many things to so many different people. It is still so difficult for me to refer to him as Bob Mabena or as Bob for that matter, because I don't think I've ever, in my interactions with him, addressed him as Bob. Maybe on the odd occasion, I would call him Mabena, but he was the Gemma to me, because before everything else, before he became my colleague, before he became my boss, before he became somebody I was friendly with, I was just a fan. That's why I called him the Gemma. I'm sure his friends and family don't call him the Gemma. Dr. Kumalo's family, I'm sure, don't call him 16 Valve. But that's what we as fans called him. So for me, he was, as I said, somebody I admired, somebody whose career I have literally followed from day one when he first started on Radio Bob, and I was still a schoolboy. I used to tease him and say all the time that I used to listen to you on the radio as my mom drove us to school, even though it's not that he was that much older than me. But as somebody said to me the other day, Bob was only 51? It's hard to believe, but that's because, and I think as much as the man himself would say it's a measure of how good he looked, I like to think that it's a measure of how long he's been a fixture in our lives. How long he's been a part of all our lives, that you feel like he's been around forever. And in that 51 years, the man has achieved what many will not achieve in a lifetime. That I think we can take solace in that this was a life lived to the maximum, a life lived in full, and that he has a legacy to show for it as well. With those few words, let me, at this point, I'd like to invite to start us off with a word of prayer the Chaplain General of the South African National Defence Force, who over the last few months, as Power 98.7, we've been involved in a partnership with him to highlight the work that the South African National Defence Force has been doing at this difficult time in our country and the work that they've been doing in our communities. But then through that work, of course, it meant that we've also formed a bond as a family here at Power 98.7 with the SNDF, with the South African National Defence Force, and in particular, the Chaplain General of the SNDF, that is Fundise Nwabese Jamgele, who I'm going to ask to come and open for us with a word of prayer. General.
Thank you, Mr. Tima, the Program Director. Yes, let me start by recognizing our Program Director, Mr. Tima, the Mabena family from all houses, our honorable distinguished guests. I take note of the MEC Panyaza Lusufi, whom I recognize, to all our distinguished guests who are coming from far and near. And also I would like to recognize all expressions of faith that are with us here today. It is true, Mr. Tima, what you said, that nothing will stand on our way, neither the COVID-19. But again, I would like to say to all of us, faith that cannot be tested cannot be trusted. So keep the faith. We will go past this one. On behalf of the Minister of Defense, Her Honorable Nosiviwe Mapisa Ngagula, the Secretary for Defense, the Chief of the South African National Defense Force, the General Soli Shoke, members of the Military Command Council in the South African National Defense Force, and members of the Secretariat and the Department of Defense as a whole. We are here today to reflect a little bit about this giant who became a friend of the SNDF, together with his colleagues and close colleagues. When we were invited, by the way, in partnership with Power FM, we were so excited as the SNDF. Some of the commanders were interviewed here, and also I had a privilege to be interviewed by this great man. One of his questions, as he was interviewing me, in my capacity as the Chaplain General of the SNDF, he asked the meaning of purple. I have brought my subordinate chaplain. He asked, what is the meaning of this purple? And I looked at him, and he continued several times. He said, tell me, Chaplain General, tell me, what's the meaning of this purple? What's the meaning of this purple? In short, I just said, it means royalty. Then he said, wow. Then after that, he asked that we must pray. And he asked me, which prayer do I prefer? Then I said, the model prayer. And he asked, what is the model prayer? I said, the Lord's Prayer. And it is my humble request that that prayer must be played until such time he is taken to his place of rest. Thank you, Chaplain. It is with sadness that we convey our condolences to the legendary broadcaster Bob Mabena from Power FM on his untimely passing. We can't imagine what you must be feeling right now, but we want you to know that the SNDF prays that God will grant you the strength to stay comforted, especially during this difficult time of mourning. May God give him eternal rest and the family the strength to bear the great pain of his absence. Our most sincere condolences for the deep grief and pain, and our deepest sympathies to the family of our beloved colleague. A household voice has gone silent. His exceptional talent to partnership with the South African National Defence Force in creating awareness and education to the citizens about the role and functions of the deployed soldiers and their responsibility to protect our citizens of South Africa was amicably broadcasted by Power FM. It carried the weight of true responsibility throughout. Many citizens have never seen this before. Power FM, in partnership with the SNDF, addressed the key issues, enlightening the listeners of the soldiers' deployments during the COVID-19. For me personally, the past few months was very special as our division interacted with him and Power FM. He became a good friend. His ability to converse with and entertain all types of people made Bob unique. Bob had left behind an excellent legacy. He is still alive in our hearts, minds, and through us. He lives on with us, what we call a good, excellent mentorship. He paved the way for many emerging broadcasters to achieve their own success in a dynamic and competitive entertainment and broadcast industry. Lastly, may the care and love of those around provide comfort and peace to the family during these days ahead. We pray that our Lord brings much needed peace to all who mourn at this sad time. Look back on all the good memories Bob created and smile at the fact that South Africans are able to share these together before he passed on. Our hearts and prayers go out to you and your family and the congregation. Once again, on behalf of the leadership of the SNDF, our entire chaplaincy corps, and the leadership of the Secretariat, please accept our condolences, and we pray for help and comfort for the family, the broadcasting fraternity, and his friends during this sad time. Let us pray. Gracious God, you have given a divine promise to those whom death has drawn nearer that. You say you will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and the same death will never paralyze their faith in you, as it shall be no more. Naturally, as human beings, we do feel crushed and devastated by the passing away of our friend, colleague, mentor, brother, father, and a legend in the broadcasting community. All these, we ask and pray for your comfort and consolation through your holy name, and may all the people of God say amen. I thank you.
Is there a favorite prayer that you like as your guys go away? Is there a favorite word that you like to give them?
You know, there's a simple model prayer. Our Father who art in heaven.
The Lord's Prayer.
The Lord's Prayer.
That's
a very simple
Shall
prayer.
we say it together?
Let's say it together. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you very much, Brigadier General Reverend Munovisi Chamandile. I feel good. Man, I feel
moment that the Chaplain General, Brigadier General Jamamgile got to share with our breakfast team. By the way, General, I must commend you with your impersonation of the Gemma. You nailed him. You nailed him. It was a very good impersonation. So, Siabulela Mfundisi for the words of encouragement and for starting this program for us. So, music, needless to say, was a major part of Bob's life. It was his life. He was a musician, in essence, wasn't he? Amongst the many hats that he wore. So, music will also form an integral part of our program this afternoon. And I'd like to invite at this stage to get us rolling on that particular theme, the inimitable Judith Sapuma. Judith, ready for us?
You know, something really nice for Refila, because I had to do this Africa thing. I'm like Andile. It's Africa Day every day. So
of course.
But you know, when Refilo and Danny suggest something, you just comply.
No, so don't say suggest. It was not a suggestion.
It wasn't.
No, it wasn't. I woke up in the morning on Sunday and I literally saw these messages and I was just like, this is not one of those, hey guys, have you thought of, no, this is, you will wear something for Africa Day, you will acknowledge it, and it will be bright colored. It was not, it was a coercion, it was not indeed a request. Hashem, no, I've come to understand this.
I love you guys for it.
We try
to celebrate. So I thought just the little gems that we can capture in life, like Africa Day, can we dress up a little, sparkle a little?
Yeah, it was not a suggestion, you're right.
Nope.
How are you doing, Faith? Had a good weekend?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, I had a working weekend as usual, but it was a particularly good weekend. I think that we've got a lot to talk about, us as well as our PAL listeners today, following the President Ramaphosa's speech last night. But ultimately, it's a brand new day. Is it day 60 of the lockdown? I saw somewhere that it's actually day 60.
It's after 50. Remember, we have a covenant. We stop counting.
Oh, we stopped counting after.
Yes.
So many places in my life and time. I've sung a lot of songs, I've made some bad rhymes. I've acted up my life in stages with 10,000 people watching. But we're alone now, and I'm singing the song to you. I know your image of me is what I hope to be. I treated you unkindly, but darling, can't you see that there's no one more important to me? You see through me, we're alone, and I'm singing the song to you. You taught me precious secrets of a true love and wanting nothing. You came out in front when I was hiding. Together, just listen to the melody, 'cause my love is in there hiding. Space or time. I love you for my life. You're a friend of mine. And when my life is over, remember we were together. We were alone, and I was song to you. Sing a song. I love you in a place I love you in a place where there's no space or time. I love you for my life. You're a friend of mine. And when my life is over, remember when we were together. We were alone, and I was singing the song to you. We were alone, and I was singing the song to you. We were alone, and I was singing the song, singing the song to you. He loved that song so much. So now this is a song I would like for it to lift up our hearts. Lord, I lift up mine eyes to the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord who made heaven and earth. He said, He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. The Lord which keepeth thee, He will not slumber nor sleep. For the Lord is thy keeper, the Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand, upon thy right hand. For the sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. He shall preserve thy soul, even forevermore. My help, all of my help cometh from the Lord. My help, my help, my help, all of my help cometh from the Lord. Lord, you are my keeper. Lord, you are my righteousness. Lord, you are my healer. Lord, you are my deliverer. Yes, you are. You are my healer. You are my healer. You're my comforter. There's none like you. We honor you. You are my healer. Healer, so God. My help cometh
Yep. You know when you see headlines like scorpions, hawks, what animal next? You know what kind of a day we're going to have, right?
We're going to have a good day, right? Because we might even bring in lions on board just to make it a little bit better, fascinating. All about accountability, all about trying to recoup some kind of money, all about bringing, those that, I don't know, that stole billions, really, from our government and from us as taxpayers during this COVID-19 pandemic to book. Will it happen? I guess that's the only thing that remains to be determined, won't it? Because it doesn't matter which animal you have on board. So long as that animal does not bite and ensure that those people are placed in orange overalls, then we're just literally starting a zoo.
I would go for a fox.
You would go for a fox? Why? Tell me.
Because, if you have to look at the way the animal forages for food, very small, very cunning, and it always gets its food, one way or another.
That's very true.
Yes. So I'd go for a fox.
You'd go for a fox.
Yes.
Yeah.
609.
Isn't it appropriate that we see him in that video wearing the tracksuit of his favorite club, the Jam? By the way, let me say thank you so much for that beautiful tribute to her friend by Sis Judith. That was truly beautiful. But yeah, so the connection with Bob as well, in the sense that in as much as we both have our roots, as in we were born in Atteridgeville, we also spent many years in Mafikeng, or in Mabatu, in the then Republic of Bophuthatswana, which is where he started his career. But yeah, we had that Atteridgeville connection as well, because I was the only person, of course, who could converse with him in the 12th official language, Sepitori. I was the only person who could go, except the German, and he knows what I'm saying. I don't have to, like, except the German? Who's that, my brother? You know? You know what I'm talking about. Those who know, know. So, 31 years ago, almost to the day, his career began at Radio Bob, then, as I said, in the then Republic of Bophuthatswana. Very few would have known or would have guessed the path that his career would follow and the heights that he would scale when he started off there, fresh out of high school. I'm going to invite now two people who have known him probably for as long as he has been that figure, that person, that public figure and that personality on the radio and on, of course, on television, because it was also in Mabatu where his television career began. So please, I'd like to invite two people who were very dear to Bob and were very close to Bob. That's Notema Madumo and Melanie Pala.
On the record with Bob Mabena.
Curbed the obsession that our communities have with burying their people or our people lavishly on weekend mornings. Funerals are now spread throughout the week, and there's a limitation on numbers as well, right? So memorial services, daily prayers, and night vigils are now prohibited, which has reduced activities surrounding the burial service. Will the over-commercialization of funerals be a thing of the past, as families come to realize that, as a matter of fact, the tens and hundreds of thousands that are spent on funerals do not necessarily equate to a dignified burial? That's for grieving families. One of those businesses whose business models are premised on pomp and circumstance, will they see a substantial reduction in revenue, and will they make it through to the other end? So, on the one hand, a business question. If you saw a need as a business person, and you have a bar and everything, we heard it on the show, right? Hey?
Yeah.
If you start that business and now you cannot operate because your business was premised on lavish burials in the townships or in the burbs, for that matter, that's on the one hand. How has your business been affected? If you had to close down, or are people still doing it for those 50 people? Because now it's really VIP. It's the 50 that would have been in the VIP section anyway. And then on the other hand, realizing that as a matter of fact, a lavish funeral doesn't really equate to a decent burial or send-off. It doesn't. And I'm sure a lot of people who have had to bury their loved ones during these COVID days have realized that, as a matter of fact, or bake a kukunyana few, or get memang to bake a bucket and kuku, and then khemere, just one bucket, and then, just do the burial thing, and then get it over and done with. No night vigil, or no tsidisa or something like that. People come, you bury your loved one, and that's that. Outside of the whole week, Muruti utlile, ungateye, rooibos ya fela, 5 roses ya fela, joko ya fela, kwa bakiwa left, right, and center, go tlabiwa komu, nkupudi, everything. After you've buried,
sounds so much like him. Thank you very much, Power FM, for the invitation and the opportunity for me to say my 2 little words. It's been tough, it's been hard, it's been painful, it's been all words we can think of. I'd like to start by saying to Eucharist and the kids, thank you for loving him, or making sure that his last years were full of love that you shared with him. Thank you for that. I had an argument with a very close person of mine that I love, and we also realized that the argument was because emotions were raw and hard and high. Because when someone very close to you dies, you start thinking about your own mortality. The people you love, the people close to you, and you start thinking, if they go, will I have done all I could? Will I have said all I could? It's only yesterday I could bring myself to go and look at my WhatsApp conversations with Mabena. And the last one was on the 24th of July. It was about his show, something that happened in his show, and we were having a good laugh about it. And why I'm happy that was the last conversation was because it was a happy conversation. And that relieves me. And incidentally, his last words were, I just mute my mic. And he did mute his mic last Friday. We all were made to feel special, and the only kind of special, as friends of his. And yes, I met him in Barbato when he first came, and we were very special, had a very special bond. But everyone here, and probably everyone watching, believes the same thing too. So I decided I'm going to read a short poem, which is about friendship. And this is a poem that I'd like to read on all of us to him. It's a poem by one of my favorite poets, and because it's a woman, Bob will be very happy, Nikki Giovanni. A poem about friendship, Nikki Giovanni. We are not lovers because of the love we make, but the love we have. We are not friends because of the laughs we spend, but the tears we save. I don't want to be near you for the thoughts we share, but for the words we never have to speak. I will never miss you because of what we do, but what we are together. Thank you, and may his soul rest in eternal peace.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you as well to Power FM for the invitation to speak. I'm incredibly nervous because this is something I didn't think I'd ever have to be doing. So last night, I was trying to figure out, what do I say? How do you pick a moment? How do you pick a memory? Do I tell you about the time we went down to Cape Town for a studio mix shoot and we thought we could sneak into the stadium, but somehow we took the wrong turn and ran into a couple of hundred, probably if not like 1,000 kids who saw us in the van and mobbed the van we were in. And the only person they wanted to hear from was Bob. And the only person who could calm them down by jumping on top of the van was Bob and saying to them, please guys, we need to get in so we can actually get the show started. And eventually they kind of calmed down and let us through. Or do I tell you about the time we were in Nelspruit for another show? Finished the show, it was great, it was successful, and we were headed back to the bus with security and maybe 2,000 kids, 2,000 people around us, and someone grabbed Bob's favorite two-pack cap off of his head and disappeared. And before we could say anything, Bob turned around and ran into this crowd of a couple of thousand people. And we were all like, what is he doing? And security turned around and ran off after him to try and help him. Couple of minutes, he came back, cap in hand, and he was like, not my two-pack cap. Not gonna happen. And we were like, but weren't you worried? He was like, nah, I had to get it back. But I think what I wanted to share with you was something that spoke to the kind of person he was. So on the show, probably after a year or two doing it, I was stalked on the show. There was an individual who used to come to the SABC and wait for me after the show every week, every Friday. And at the time, like I said, we were both young, but particularly myself, I was like 19, 20, and I just didn't know how to handle this. And Bob made it his personal responsibility every week after the show to make sure that I got home safely. Whether that meant if he had the time, he would give me the lift himself to make sure I got home, or if he didn't, he'd make sure somebody took responsibility to ensure that I got home. And then he would check on me as well. And I think that just speaks to the kind of person he was, that when he said he cared about you, he didn't just say it, he showed you. He showed you. Love is a verb, it's in the things you do. And that, to me, I think was just one of the things that I loved about him as an individual. I wanted to share something with all of you that has given me great comfort in the years since I came across it, and I return to it every time that I lose someone I love. It's by someone called Aaron Freeman, who's a writer and a performer in the United States, and it was first written in 2005. And what he says is, you want a physicist to speak at your funeral. You want the physicist to talk to your grieving family about the conservation of energy so they will understand that your energy has not died. You want the physicist to remind everyone about the first law of thermodynamics, that no energy is created in the universe and none is destroyed. You want your family to know that all your energy, every vibration, every BTU of heat, every wave of every particle that was their beloved remains with them in this world. You want the physicist to tell your weeping family that amid energies of the cosmos, you gave as good as you got. That all the photons that ever bounced off his face, all the particles whose paths were interrupted by his smile, by the touch of his hand, hundreds of trillions of particles have raced off like children, their ways forever changed by him. And as your widow rocks in the arms of a loving family, may the physicist let her know that all the photons that bounced from you were gathered in the particle detectors that are her eyes, that those photons created within her constellations of electromagnetically charged neurons whose energy will go on forever. And the physicist will remind the congregation of how much of all our energy is given off as heat. There may be a few fanning themselves with their programs, as he says it, and he will tell them, that the warmth that flowed through you in life is still here, still part of all that we are, even as we who mourn continue in the heat of our own lives. And you'll want the physicist to explain to those who loved you that they need not have faith. Indeed, they should not have faith. Let them know that they can measure, that scientists have measured precisely the conservation of energy and found it accurate, verifiable, and consistent across space and time. The science is sound, and that they'll be comforted to know your energy is still around. According to the law of the conservation of energy, not a bit of you is gone. You're just less orderly. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, that's the question. Are you ready to go? It's cold, all right? I've seen pictures from the meteorology office because I'm interested in that kind of thing. The massive cold front is massive, and you can see it coming through Cape Town because it's wet and cold at the same time. It is freezing down there. So you can imagine a combination of wetness and cold at about 14 degrees in Cape Town. You're looking at about hovering around 20 in Tshwane and Rustenburg. Johannesburg, where we are now, and the Vaal at 15, 16, and Durban is a little bit better, about 22. So, yeah, the winter's really here.
It is here, and unfortunately, it's not going away anytime soon. In fact, I struggled waking up this morning. You know, I'm always so sprightly, and no, listen, I literally did. It was a mission getting up in the morning, and I can imagine as that cold front persists until about Tuesday, Wednesday. By the late Thursday, it starts subsiding a little bit, so we're going to be breathing a sigh of relief. But if there was ever a time to make sure that you get your long johns ready and your vests ready and your boots ready, this is the time now, as we are heading into the lower teens for the greater part of the week. But good morning, nonetheless. It is a Tuesday morning. Good morning, Bob. How are you? How was your afternoon?
Yeah, it was a sedation, so I slept for a better part of the day with a lot of pain. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't wait to wake up.
Give us context to why is it that you were sedated and why you were in pain? Because you kept saying it during the show. No, but the thing is, we need to give context to the story. So let me tell you what happened. So my co-host was busy this past weekend doing his normal, building stuff. Right, that you love doing. You love the construction side, and now you went and you fell.
Yeah.
On your hand.
Yeah.
Douche.
Landed on my hand.
Landed on your hand, and just in case people do not believe me, there's a video of it.
Yes, I did.
That I was taking right now, just to show the hand. There we go. That's exactly what
my hand.
Come to know about the man. There was very little Bob Mabena couldn't do, as you heard, the builder, and you saw at the start of the video, the weatherman. So, he certainly, as Given Karo was saying this morning, the tribute that they paid to him, Nafa was the gem. He did it all himself. I mean, why the hell is he doing his own building and putting his life at risk? I tell you what, thank you so much to Melanie Bala and Notemba Matumo for that heartfelt tribute to your friend. It was truly beautiful. With that then, as I said, music will be very much a part of our program this afternoon. It was very much a part of of Bob's life and one of the things that he loved the most. And that is why we are sharing this occasion with some of the people that he also loved so much and we're so happy that they could be with us. So let me invite a man who we don't often see, we don't see enough of him in this mode anymore, but it is still what he does so magnificently. Please join me in calling up the fighter, Ringo Madlingozi, MP, to serenade us this afternoon.
love to pass my heartfelt condolences to the family, the friends, colleagues. I hope this song will make you feel good.
Kwanele ngesikhalo sisimoya njengomntwana obekhala ebena abuka kubomo obutsha xolisa inhliziyo Sula inyembezi jonga ngamehlo amatsha ilizwe litsha ubomi obutsha bukavuka uyabona ukomsulo uyazi amandla wakho awusoli bantu okwenzekayo kubomi bakho uyazi amandla wakho awuqedi bantu okwenzekayo kubomi babo kwanele ngesikalo kawuhlisa umoya njengomntwana obekhala abuka ayikubo mutsha xolisa inhliziyo vuka ayivuthulule okubuvuvu okuliswe ngabo ilokishi ayikanti nasekhaya bantu nje kubani bantu nje bathethe ngathi amnayiyo vula amehlo ayifuna ukuzithanda nayimvume yokuthi awufuni kawufunda ukuziphatha kawufunda ukuyeka ukuphisa ngento kwanele ngesika awuhlisa umoya njengomntwana obekhala aqabuka engubo uyazi amandla wakho awusoli bantu uyazi amandla wakho awuqedi bantu kola mama kola tata kola mntwana kola uzobuye ulunge now you know unengelo sentsha oyazi ngegama oyazi ngegama xolisa inhliziyo
see, I can feel Bob riding on this one, you know.
Beautiful stuff there. That moment there with three musical maestros, Thabo Mdluli, the chairman himself, and of course, Oskido. But a special thanks then as well for that beautiful tribute from Ringo Madlingo. Thank you so much, Commissar. Where has he disappeared to? Much appreciated. Melanie, in the poem you shared, you mentioned something about wanting to have your physician speak at your funeral. And the great irony is that we have with us a man who also was part of a team that has over the years also taken care of Bob. He was the family doctor as well, and of course also a very good friend of Bob Mabena's and the family. So I'd like to ask him as well I would like to ask Dr. Tiny Minga as well to come and have a few words with us. Dr. Minga.
Good afternoon, Inhlekani, Baka Mabena, Baka Baloi, Bakaya, Power FM. I'm not the only one who made that mistake. Lawrence Dube did that, and he was not punished for it. So no one should take issue with me. And yes, I was Bob's general practitioner. But before we come to that, and I think I shall just take you for 30 seconds to tell you how, of course, we knew each other as Makwabu, everything else that you can think of. And I get this call from, and of course I recognized it, it's Bob calling. He says, but I just saw you yesterday, that was the previous day, with the late Vuyo Mbuli on SABC. In the morning, you talking about men's health. Please come and share this with us. It's my brother just said, anything you want from me, Bob, you've got it. When? And I said, today's Wednesday, please, can you come tomorrow, Thursday morning? And I said, it's fine. And I was there. But he made me think and believe that this was just a, one night stand on a Thursday. And I went there, I spoke. And as I was driving back to my office around 9:15, he calls again. He said, hey, I'm in trouble here. The phones are ringing. They want you to come back again as soon as you can. I said, no, you don't expect to come back today. He said, no, let's do it next week, same time. I said, no, because it's you, my brother, I'll do it. And that went on for a period of about a month. And little did I know, I thought in my, humble opinion that this was just a community service that I was doing. So after the fourth show, as I was stepping out, one man who's sitting outside here is the station manager of Kaya. He was waiting outside with a contract. He says, please, can you sign here? I said, sign for what? This is your slot. Bob has instructed us that you should be our regular, house doctor. I said, wow, come on, guys. Are you serious? So, and I said to him, what is this thing for? He said, it's a contract that you're going to stay with us. So I asked him, you know what, I've never been employed by anybody in my life. Are you going to be the first one to employ me? He said, yes. And I signed it. We won't talk about the amount of money that they were paying me because it was so, yeah, well, it still remains a community service that I was giving. But because it was Bob, and so what I want to say to you is that Bob actually launched me into the medical media space. I had no experience at all, but he held me by his hand and he just said, listen, I didn't even know how far to stand behind the mic, in front of the mic. I just said, I'll do it. If Bob is there, and I used to sit, I never sit down in the studio, I always stand up. And I was always stand across him and do my presentations. And he kept on saying, that's right, Bud, that's right, that's how we do it. And that is the Bob that we were talking about here today. And he ended up being, not just being a brother, a friend, but some kind of a younger brother that I never had. We used to talk quite often about things. And I'm a little bit disappointed with you, Chichi, because what I was told by the chairman yesterday was that I'll be probably on the last layer of speakers. And the reason, it gives me so much comfort to have that, because, people say things. 10 speakers ahead of you. So when I come onto the podium, all I say is that I agree. So there's not much about that today. So I'm bound to say something. And I'll continue to say that I became his, not only his, but the entire family's doctor. And looking after him, which was, for me, it was a bit of an honor and a challenge. But before I go any further, I just want to make people feel comfortable that I'm not going to talk about medical condition. We don't do that in the medical practice. But what I can tell you is that I would not have been able to look after Bob on my own. And please allow me, if you can, Titi, to mention the top doctors, the specialists that were part of the team that was looking after Titi. And I think this is very important. It takes away the pressure for me, because everybody will think that I'm this marvelous doctor. I am not. We had Dr. Mutuba, who was the general surgeon. At any time I called Dr. Mutuba about anything that needs to be cut or removed from Bob, he will ask me twice or 3 times, why are you doing this? Anytime, he'll say, send him to my office. We had a lady doctor, she's a nephrologist, Dr. Michelle Bagwadan from St. Anne Mary Clinic. She was always, every time I call and say, listen, I want you to have a look at my friend. She knew who I was talking about, and that would be Bob. We had Dr. Mukansi from, I think, what is that? Pine Heaven Clinic. He's actually a specialist in the lungs. We call them the pulmonologist. Anytime I'll call him, he'll be there. Sometimes not necessarily to see him, but to get an opinion, so that I can make up my mind as to what is the best way to look after our dear brother. And he did that up to the last day. And I must just add that, yes, I did see him on a Saturday, the last Saturday of his life. He came to me with his dear wife, and I just said, look, slightly above my level, because he was, of course, in pain. That I can tell you, he was in pain. And I called on the specialist, the lung specialist, said, please bring him up to the hospital. And she did. She drove him. And by Sunday, when I spoke to the doctor, and I actually spoke to Bob, he was okay. I said, hey, but I'm going home tomorrow, which is a Monday. And even the doctor confirmed that he's ready to go home. And I was happy, and I was quite excited about it too. And I went on to my office because he told me, he said, but I'm going back to work on Tuesday. I have a medical certificate, better than the one that was written for JZ, but this one stated all the conditions, and which said he's going back on a Tuesday. It's in my office. I was just waiting to send it over to the management of Power. And that's how confident I was that my brother would still be with us here today. Little did I know, and when I got that call from the chairman around 11, 12, I was in the golf course. That's my place to down all my sorrows. And I got this call to say things are not happening too well. They've turned up for the worst. And I said, what are you talking about? But in fact, he was so gracious to give me the full story. And then after that, after he left, after everything was done, whatever happened, I called the hospital and said, please, can you tell me what actually happened? And the staff in that ward said, they can't believe what happened because he was happy, almost like humming a song, happy to go home to go and meet his kids. And in fact, when they came to pick him up, the son rushed to him and he picked him up. That's how happy he was and ready to go back home until things turned for the worst. So, and I interrogated the staff to say, please tell me exactly what happened. He said, look, and of course I had to use my clinical, knowledge to think. And this wanted me to say, it is a heart attack. And this is exactly what happened. And the doctor, his specialist, pulmonologist, said, I just can't believe it, but Bob was a fantastic man. You'll hear a lot about his side, that side of the story. But what marveled the doctor, the specialist, was that Bob had 2 religious books on his table in the ward for the entire period when he was in hospital. And, which is wonderful. Most people do that. But he was actually reading this. So he was quite broad, let alone the many things that he's been reading, the novels and everything else. But there was a lot of religion. And I think I heard over the radio, I think the following day, of some of the things that he said and some of the things, the last Twitter that he posted, I saw it. You sent it to me, Chairman. And you could say that this was a man who was happy. And he said it many times on the radio station. But what was something that I actually underlined, what they said at the hospital, and which was confirmed by the physician, was that he said, I'm happy to go back home. But he said it several times. And I'm saying, at the back of my mind, we didn't know, all of us here didn't know which home he was talking about. Only him and his maker knew which home he was talking about. So with those few words, I just want to say, the family, please be consoled. Our brother, it's in a safe space. We'll miss him, and we wish he could just rest. I will use the biblical word because the big man is here. Rest in peace. Maybe I can also borrow the word rest in power. Thank you.
I don't know how teaspoons of coffee, I want 2 sugars, and I want you to bring it to me in a little cup and saucer. You can't bring it to me in a mug, I split it to put sauce in it to make sure the teaspoon is on the side on the left-hand side. Do you understand how to make it?
We got a lot of work to do. So what can we expect from this team for Power Breakfast?
Besides him learning how to make my cup of coffee, lots of conversation, driving the positive narrative of our African continent, and Pan-African conversation, because I truly believe that true change starts like this. True change starts with power and true change starts with people realizing their own potential. And I'm hoping that we together are able to help South Africa and assist South Africa in create conversations that drive that power.
Whatever she says. See, I've been married for quite some time. I know when to shut up. Let the boss do the talking.
He was with the wife and the daughter and the son. He carries the energy at the last booking.
Thank you so much, Nakansanko, for Dr. Minga, for those few words and just taking us through that experience. And I think as clearly as what Dr. Minga was saying, Bob was somebody of faith when, in terms of the books that he had with him in the time that he was in hospital. And you can't help but think that He had, I hate to talk of premonitions or things like that, but he certainly had. He knew something that perhaps the rest of us didn't know. As you all know, at this time, we don't get to see people in hospital. You're not allowed to visit in people who are in hospital at this time because of the regulations around COVID-19. And it's probably one of the biggest tragedies about a time like this is the number of people who are dying alone, So you have to, in as much as you, certainly there was questions that I was asking myself when I heard of the news of the passing of Bob, that he had just left the hospital. And you ask yourself, how on earth does that work? Somebody just left the hospital and then they die after that. It didn't seem to make any sense. But then when you think that his last moments on this planet, the last faces that he saw are the people who meant the most to him, you can't help but believe there is a greater power with a big plan, with a clear plan for all our lives. No matter what man's intervention may be, God ultimately has the final say. Then who are we? And those of us who are believers know better than to ask why. It is certainly not a question that we ask. And it's okay, obviously, when news such as this comes across of the passing of someone, that it's shocking, It's certainly something that you don't prepare for it. If it's somebody old, you're not surprised to hear that, they've passed on. And it's okay to wonder about what happened. But there is this macabre obsession with the details of what happened to somebody who dies. And I'm not quite sure what it is in us as human beings that we feel the need that we still have to dig and dig. I think that was something that I find generally quite problematic, because it certainly does not add any value, nor will it change anything about what has happened. With that said, then, one of the, Bob had many friends, of course, as you can imagine. And one of the things that I've admired most about what the next speaker, who was one of Bob's closest friends and was with him to the bitter end, what I've admired, and again, you have to wonder about what these guys knew, and together with Bob, what they knew about the last few years, or that, this could possibly be his final lap. But what has happened in the last few years is that there have been a number of events that have been organized by, amongst others, our next speaker, that have allowed people to celebrate Bob, including his big 50th birthday party that he had last year, And I think that is something that is wonderful, that not many of us will have that opportunity or get that opportunity to be celebrated while we're still alive. And I don't think that Bob would have been, I certainly believe, as you would have heard the clip that we would have played of him on the radio, of him on the breakfast show, where he says the words, "I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy." And he says it like 3 times. And those words take on such deep meaning at a time like this. And I believe he was truly happy, because those who loved him the most made him know it. And he felt that love, as he did to those who are out there, all of you who are watching this broadcast. He felt that love, certainly, but certainly felt the love from his friends. And to speak on behalf as well of Bob's friends, I'm going to ask Winston, my money, to come up and say a few words.
Good afternoon, everybody. I have to admit, I had a bit of a debate last night with Given when we were putting together the program for this memorial service, to say that I'm just not in a good space to speak. He insisted, he gave me his reasons, and his reasons left me no choice. I have not had time to process much because half the time I don't know what time it is, what day of the week it is. Because between the time I got that call from Eucharist on Monday and this moment as I'm standing here, everything is still a blur to a large extent. But be that as it may, what needed to be done up to this stage has been done, and I think we've been blessed enough with given all the challenges that we all have to operate under, that we've managed to secure everything that we need to secure so that Bob gets precisely the kind of send-off that for some weird reason he pretty much told most of us, because as we were sitting trying to figure out as of Tuesday where to start and everything, it very quickly became clear what needed to happen, because he had conversations with us respectively, separately, over a significant period of time. And the puzzle came together because he had answered most of the questions in some of the conversations that those who were close to him would have with him. Eucharist. I've heard everything that you've told me, particularly this week. Some of it I was not hearing it for the first time, because you and I have our own relationship in any case, so each time you would call me to check up on me, you would always give me snippets of some of the conversations you and Bob would have pertaining to my relationship with him. This week, you added some insights that further made me understand why God gave me that man. And I get it. I'm not going to fall apart because I can't afford to. I can't replace him. I told you on Monday, I'll never be able to replace him. Not for you, not for the kids, not for anybody. But I'm going to take care of you. Me and my kids will not cut bread in that house if I know that you can't do the same thing. I'll take care of you. Thank you.
Yar monna my man, I was doing so well. One tlaka man. Thank you for that. Take heart, my friend. I know what you went through. But take heart, because so often when someone dies, you are filled with regret. Or if only I should have told him how much he means to me. I should have told her how much she means to me. We are filled with regret. That shouldn't be you. Because wherever Mabena is looking down on us now, he knows exactly how you felt about him. Mel said, love is a verb. You showed him in your deeds. So you have absolutely no regrets. The promises that you make here, you didn't even need to verbalize them because he knows that you would have been. You always had his back. Nobody else had his back. You always had his back. And as I said, it's great what you've done for him, with him, in the last few years. And I think you've shown, as I said, I don't know what you knew that the rest of us didn't know. You showed him love as a friend. You showed him love as somebody who admired who he was and admired the work that he had done on this planet. So take heart from that, my friend, and thank you so much for having walked this journey and being with him, as I said earlier, to the bitter end. Thank you so much for that. Bagolo ke kopa fela gore ke tle ke mo kopela maitshwarelo ga sa apara bike. Ga na yone. Ga itire ga e yo baki ke ena le mona na o felletse my man. So just get that out of the way. You know, I was sharing the other day with, okay, I'll come to that one a little bit later on. But let me tell you a story before I bring up our next speaker here. I said, so would it be, I suppose, in the 90s when Bob was at what was then known as Radio Metro, and I was listening to the show as I do, obviously a breakfast show, and I'm listening to this guy that he's speaking to on the radio who's narrating this story about an incident that happened. Now, this guy is a regular contributor on Bob's show, calls in and gives these updates out of the United States. But this particular one, for some reason, has always stuck with me, this particular update that came out of a man in the US, and he tells a story of how there'd been this massive storm, and unfortunately, that uprooted trees, and a tree fell on a man and killed him. And then, but that's not really the story. It's like how he describes it. Yeah, Bob, it was a bad storm. It was a bad storm, and this tree. It fell on the guy and it killed him. And Bob, trees are heavy. And I was like, whoa, insights, who knew? Thank goodness we have a man in the United States who could tell us that trees are heavy. Who is this guy? This guy is the chairman of MSG Africa. Give it Bukhari. You will come and tell. He's a man who has walked as, for him to come and speak here, actually on the program it says he's speaking as a colleague and friend, but anybody who knows the relationship between the two of them will know that it went way beyond colleagues and friends, as they called each other. They were brothers, Makwab. So, Mkari, you've spoken at length about your relationship with the chairman. your admiration for the man and what he meant to you. He literally gave you your first break in this business. And it is quite profound that his last station in life was working at a radio station that you started. I think that is quite a story. Talk about coming full circle. You've said a lot about your relationship in the last few days with him, and you spoke at length as well about it this morning. I don't know how much more you can still dig, but I think it's only appropriate for you as well, even in giving your thanks to everybody who joined us for this occasion, just to tell us what the man meant to you. So with that, please, if you will come say a few words, give him Mkari.
So Titi, if you didn't know how heavy the trees are, on Monday, South Africa felt what it feels like when the trees fall. That's how heavy they are. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here. Those who are here at Powerhouse, and those who are streaming, and those who are watching on television and listening on the radio. So Monday, after we had left the hospital and family is at the house, a naughty character and very characteristic of his source decides on the couch to pray for us. LJ, a 4-year-old, sitting right here in front of me. We are talking about what next. This is after the family said, Mkari, my money, over to you. You know what to do. Getting a brief. And LJ goes on a prayer or a conversation with his hands in this form. And those who are listening to the radio, just feel the form because you can't see me. Something to the extent of, my dad is happy. My dad is okay in heaven. My dad will always be with us. And he will always be with us. Always in our dreams. And then he says, Amen. I looked at Madame, Mrs. Mabena, and can't quite remember who else was in the room. I get home, my young Zalama, Dad, Uncle Bob says, don't worry, he's happy, he's fine, he'll always protect you, and he loves you. I'm sitting in one part of the house now, I'm at my house, and then she says, actually, Daddy, let's go outside, I want to show you something. Fundis. We go outside, she shows me to the sky. From where we are, there's literally one star. She says, I told you, he's looking at you. Don't worry, Daddy. I said when we spoke to the team in the office and to a whole lot of other friends and family, if if you have had a chance to talk to Bob in the past month and a half in particular, and you played back any conversation you've had with him, retrospectively, you know that he did do his goodbyes. I said to Mrs. Mabena, and Titi alluded to that, we know that Mrs. Mabena and Mabena did their date nights. I've repeated this in the building. She'll come from work. He'll be here. She'll come dressed like a corporate woman. Changes here in the office into a chick, to a beautiful girl from the worker. And then if it's not the Friday date night, it's just a drive. So of course it should make sense that an exit on a hospital bed would have been out of character. So yes, Monday we're getting released. Come pick me up at 9:30. He keeps her waiting because he's waiting for his medication to go home. By the time it comes out, he rushes with his bag, hugs LJ, hugs his baby. They get on to that fancy machine that my boy was very excited about, that number. Right? That cow fees. She's driving, fine. And then a few minutes later, within a space of up to 7 kilometers, literally a 7 minutes drive, the brother says he's feeling dizzy. Now, knowing boss lady, Wamuchika, no, you can't do this to me. Wena. Right? And then the brother took with LJ in there, started to almost like became unconscious. And then she stops the freeway. She stops the freeway, is able to cross to the other side of the freeway with help. The freeway stops on both directions. She makes a U-turn, still talking to her husband, with my son in there. She gets him back to the hospital. And then he's over to the professionals. And a little later, same day, I said, but babe, don't be angry at my boy. Because he's a consistent man. He still gave you what you boys and girls do. He gave you that drive. And as Titi said, that drive was with the people he was most obsessed with. Were always, if you listen to Power, if it's not my baby, my wife, it's our little thug here, Ajay. And the last drive was with those two people. So, come on, be kind to my boy. He gave you a ride. And as we've been speaking, you know, he spoke to you about a lot of those things. He told you who should carry him to the last place. We even know. No, in a brief, I know. Through the shock, it's been very difficult to try to figure out what we need to do. But as my man says, you talk to family, you talk to the kids, you talk to some of the brothers and sisters, and the picture became very clear. We were all briefed. We all knew what to do. At the humane level, it is very painful. Everybody, every South African, even those who have not met him, will tell you, this one hurts. This one, yatiga. This tree that fell this time is heavy titi. But at the spiritual level, aye man, On air, guys, I told you, be now on my day. Give me my park. Give me some Miles Davis. And I don't want too many speeches. Saying to his daughter, you know, I would used to say to him, remember, once you're gone, you're not in charge. On earth, we're still in charge. So we'll try our best to do the gig as you prefer to, but we will also take the latitude where it's necessary. So, about cancer. The cancer baka baloi. The cancer baka Mabena. The cancer baka Hadeb, our in-laws. The cancer ba mana ba na ngwabo. The cancer bangan. The colleagues. The cancer South Africa and everybody who touched or was touched by Bob's life. Thank you so much for celebrating this man, for enriching him, because Bob was not hard to feed. Very easy to please Bob. 4 little words. Love. Love. The man is full. Thrived off love because he was love. And did he get a dose of it from Eucharist? Did he get a dose of it from his children? And if you listen some more, the number of times in the past few months where he said, I'm so happy, I'm so happy, I'm so happy. Bagaina, thank you for giving him love. And even after he's passed in his physical form, the love that he's still receiving, thank you, South Africa. Thank you to the support from even friends, our friends from B3. Thank you to his colleagues here who have been celebrating him. Continue to celebrate him because he is worth it. This king is worth it. Bafundisi, colleagues, friends, the dignity and the respect, even some of the naughtiest people on social media and the media, the amount of dignity and respect that this country has shown to my brother. Thank you to each and every one of you for giving love, because he is love. Thank you very much.
The shout out we never thought that we'd give to you.
Basically, Bro Bob, you were one of the realest people this industry has ever seen, and there's very few of them. And may you rest in peace.
It's really heartbreaking to get to say goodbye to the most realest person and the kindest, always supportive, always excited about new music, always knowledgeable of any artist that he interviewed. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, Prapop. Siyabonga Prapop for all the platforms over now, sharing them with us, you know, being real to us and being like an older brother to all of us here. You basically raised us in the game, Prapop, you know. One of the first to interview us in the studio mix, and we kept that relationship going, and you were real up to now. We thank you for everything, Prapop. We love you.
Yeah, man. Definitely a sad day. You're a true partner, you know, someone that fully supported and a champion of Squatter Camp. Yeah, thanks for all the studio interviews. Thanks for all the great memories. I'm sure if we just played clips from everything we've done, you know, whether it was at Kaya, at Power, you know, yeah, we have many great memories. The Pop, City Salute, Sebutlukadi Feli. Yo, man, so much more to give, and here we are today. Love you, Papa.
Love you.
Yeah, man. Shout out to power. Rest in power and strength to the family.
Yeah, man.
Thank you so much to Mr. Given Mkari there, our Executive Chairman. You know, as I said, maybe there was something that Bob knew as well about how his life would pan out, because this man lived life in a hurry. I mentioned at the start that someone was speaking to me and said to me, it was like so surprised that Bob was only 51 years old. And that's because of what the man has achieved in his lifetime. This 30 years, the career I speak of that spans 3 decades here, he did it all. And he was a pioneer. He went straight out of school, became a DJ. He became a TV presenter. He was a producer. Long before we had TKZ and Benny McCarthy, we had Bob Mabena and Dr. Kumar. He was the man who broke the mold, you know. He refused to be put into a box to say he is a DJ and that's all that he can do. And that is why he started off a trend, or as I said, there was Benny McCarthy and TKZ that came afterwards. And it was unheard of, and not in your wildest dreams did you ever think you would hear Dr. Kumalo rapping. But Bob took him there, and he saw something that he could do with that. That was visionary. And I don't know whether Doctor considers himself a rapper yet or what, but that's what Bob did. That wasn't enough. He became a producer. I expressed on air the other day how shocked I was when Bob announced that he would be leaving Metro, or Radio Metro at the time, when he was on top of his game. Somebody also mentioned in the tributes that we've been having, I think earlier it was mentioned that he's never been removed from any time slot that he held down, whether it was on an afternoon drive or on breakfast. He left when he was good and ready because he had bigger things to do. He became a manager, he became an executive, again breaking the mold and constantly aspiring for bigger and better things. And that is why this 51 years seems like an eternity, because he managed to fill or squeeze so much into this life. I think I related a story of something that I only first came across for the first time as a year or two ago, when the man who ironically, his vision of studying Radio Bob and Bob TV, and where Bob got his first break, when the president of what was then Botswana, Dr. Lucas Mangupe, was laid to rest. There was no obituary at that funeral. And I later learned that the reason why there wasn't one, as his son explained to those mourners who were gathered that day, is that he didn't want one. He refused and specifically said, there is to be no obituary of my life read out at my funeral. And that's because he said, the reason why he said that is because my life's work speaks for itself. And I think in this case, it is also appropriate when we speak of Bob Mabena. His life's work speaks for itself. As they say, Kashtonga, Mentiro ya bulabo. Did I get it right? Babaloy? Mentiro ya bulabo. So his work speaks for itself. He has left a legacy. His work on this planet was done. Having said that, I would like to invite those who were close, who knew him best, those who were dearest to him, to also have their say, an opportunity to pay tribute to their father. So I'm going to ask Clementine and Sihle to both come up and pay tribute to their father.
this is awkward. Asked for 60 years, he only gave me 51. But I literally cannot complain. I've known him my whole life. That joke always goes really well, I guess. Tough crowd today. They say every soul that's due to be born picks its parents. And in all honesty, my siblings and I, we won the jackpot. Listen, gold mine of note. The most effortlessly cool man anyone has ever met. I dare you to find someone else. Loving. Like he used to say, come home so I can smother you with love. And he did. And he fed me a lot. And he did it with everyone, every one of us. So I want to be greedy and say I wish I had more time, but he gave me the best of himself. And so he did the same with my siblings. I'd like to call them each up. Kamogelo, please come up. Dakele, Hope, Renelwe, Timakato, Moto, LJ. Now this is what we mean when we say squad deep. He had his own personal entourage. On behalf of my siblings, I would just like to say to everyone watching, the love has been immense. Nobody ever saw him coming the way his career started. Nobody saw him coming, and no one saw him leaving either. Never played by the rules, but I really didn't think he'd pull this one. Thank you all for the respect you've shown us. I've been running away from social media because it can get rough there, but I hear that all it's been is an outpouring of love. And we really appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts. The Jammer journey does not end here. The legacy will continue. It's in these faces. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. On the 21st of June, it was Father's Day. This man DM'd us what he wanted as Father's Day gifts. And amongst ourselves, we were like, why? And he was adamant about what he wanted. And we decided, let us give him what he asked for. Expensive as it was, we came together and we bought whatever he asked us to buy him. Funny enough, when we presented the gifts to him, he was shocked. He was shocked. But he was pleasantly surprised as well. I'm not sure when he sent the DMs, did he think we were going to do it or not, but I was wondering, why are you surprised? Because you asked for it. Anyway, I'd like to echo the words of a song Usis Judith Supuma sang earlier on. It is from the book of Psalms 122 that says, my help cometh from the Lord. And I'd like to encourage my siblings, Mama Bear, the Mabenas, the Khadebes, that let us look to God to give us strength. Standing here, it is not easy, but when Jesus ascended, he said, I do not leave you alone. I leave you with a comforter, and I leave you with a friend. I'd like to sing a song that we used to joke about when he was still alive and say, we're going to ask Usizonke to come and sing the song whenever Dad dies. And now that we can't have her here, I'd like to render this item in his loving memory. And the name of the song is Viva by Zonke. Can the technical team give me the backtrack, please?
I hear them say your name, and I know you live in me. They say, Jammer, you're a legend, and I smile, and my mind would fly. Every day of my life watching you. Disease ananga, di ubonu bubele bakho. Dinjena Jeguwe, Jammer, you are a legend. La 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 la. Ah, yeah, la 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 la. La 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 la. Ah, balahlekelwe boba intoni na ngaphandle kwakhe yini ayingubekwe ngakho nansi kuthi Jammer siyakuthembisa soze sijike wasifundisa uthando wasifundisa umhlaba wasifundisa ukuhleka wasifundisa ukuvana thina wasifundisa inyani wathi nyamezelani wasifundisa uthando lomculo Jammer la 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 la.
That was Mabena's love. The people that you saw up here. The Jammer's love. Sihle, you nailed it. Clemmy, you said it all. The beat goes on, the Jammer will never die. He will always be with us. A beautiful tribute. And Sihle, what a beautiful choice of a song. Of course, those who know that song, that Zonke dedicated that song, or sang that song about her own father. And Sihle, you absolutely nailed that one. Beautiful. All right, at this time, I wish to now we have had our say. It's important now that we give time to Baruti now, and I'm going to ask Pastor Donald Mtlong. I'm going to give him his time now. Pastor Donald Mtlong, of course, with the Grace Bible Church. Dr. Maruti, kenakweha.
Hallelujah. As it has been said, my name is Donald Mutlong, Kitsoko Grace Bible Church, under the pastoral leadership of Bishop Musa Sono, on whose behalf I'm standing here today. He has asked me to come and deliver a message on his behalf today. And the message that he delivers to family Mabena, Bakwabaloi, Abaselkweni, Bakakhatebe. Bishop Ushe, let me pass this message of condolences. We pray that the Father of comfort, God Almighty, will comfort and strengthen you. Hirambash kwembu, matimbash kwemba banahina, aitisa, loku hi humelela, hibutumlubi. That God who knows and sees all things be with you every day of your lives. Amen. Let me also take time to greet the families, all the families ba liloko le amanang le ba Mabena. Let me greet the friends and colleagues, more power. Let me greet also colleagues in the industry as a whole. Let me also honor General Chaplain. It's a pleasure, sir, to have with you. Let me honor all distinguished guests who are here with us this afternoon to come and just remember the life of this great giant. Hallelujah. Before I get into this word, asigesithi nje ukuthi amaphimbo kancane. Hallelujah. Inhliziyo kaJesu imnene sengizoqasha kuyo. Inhliziyo kaJesu imnene sengizoqasha kuyo. Inhliziyo imnene sengizoqasha kuyo. Inhliziyo imnene sengizoqasha kuyona. I think on an afternoon like this, when you consider what has been said, not only this afternoon, but in the days past, when you consider that a life of one person can have so much impact on not only family, not only on a community, but on a nation as a whole, you have to wonder to yourself or ask yourself or feel challenged. Certainly I do feel challenged to ask myself, how does a boy from Atteridgeville who grew up in a poor family, I think he said they were 13 in a four-room house, how does a boy who grew up with asthma, who was unable to do anything, unable to lift anything, who struggled to help with the chores in the home, how does a boy like that end up bringing the whole country to a standstill? How does a boy who grew up with the support of only his mother and later his grandmother, without a lot in terms of resources, how does he end up having an impact like this? And I ask myself, is there something that you and I can learn from this life that we also can be one day people of great impact? How does somebody take only 5 decades to make an impact that will last over years and years to come? Because the impact that he's had is not only the impact of his own life, but he's deposited a lot of this greatness in others that they themselves will have impact further. That is why his passing on is not an end, because he's let the greatness live in other people. And I'm led to the scripture, Ezekiel chapter 47. Ezekiel chapter 47. And I know you all have your Bibles. Or not? Electronic Bibles. That is also acceptable. From verse 1 it reads, the man brought me back to the entrance to the temple, and I saw water coming out from under the threshold of the temple toward the east, for the temple faced east. The water was coming down from under the south side of the temple, south of the altar. He then brought me out through the north gate and led me around the outside to the outer gate facing east, and the water was trickling from the south side. Right? Did you notice that? The water was trickling from the south side. As the man went eastward with a measure line in his hand, like a tape measure, he measured off 1,000 cubits, and he led me through the water. The water was now ankle deep, moved from a trickle to ankle deep. He measured off another 1,000 cubits and led me through water that was now knee deep, moved from ankle deep to knee deep. He measured off another 1,000, led me through the water that was now up to the waist. He measured off another 1,000, but now it was a river that I could not cross because the water had risen and water was deep enough to swim in. A river that no one could cross. He asked me, "Son of man, do you see this?" Then he led me back to the bank of the river. When I arrived there, I saw a great number of trees on each side of the river. He said to me, "This water flows towards the eastern region and goes down into the Araba, where it enters the Dead Sea. When it empties into the sea, the salty waters becomes fresh. Swarms of living creatures will, wherever the river flows, there will be large number of fish because this water flows there and makes the salt water fresh. So where the river flows, everything will live." And I think the life that we are remembering today represents this kind of life. A life which started as a water that was just a trickle. And over time it became knee height. Then it became waist height. Then it became a river which gave life to many fish. And it gave life to many animals came to drink of that water. And it provided shelter and shade to many animals that they were able to find shelter in this particular river. And it says in the Bible that this river flowed, and wherever it flowed into the sea, the salty water became fresh. It changed that which was unusable to become very usable, that which was fruitless to become fruitful. How many times did you hear this week many people paying tribute to say that if it was not for Bob Mabena giving me this opportunity, I don't know if I would be where I am today. And so I think there are a few things that I'd like to highlight that can help you and I think, if we would emulate them, that our own lives can be great lives that impact on other people. What builds or what makes for a life of great impact? Number one, I think that a life of great impact is a life that deploys the God-given talents that the person has. Each one of us did not come into this world empty-handed. God has given everybody, when they came into this world, some gifts, some talents, some passions that you have, that you are able to deploy that. If you are able to deploy that, and if you're serious about deploying that, and you work hard to improve on those natural skills, those God-given talents, you would be able to make a great impact in life. I'm reminded of Moses, when God called him and said, "Moses, I want you to go and deliver the children of Israel." Moses said to God, "But I can't speak." He's telling the one who made his mouth that he can't speak. God says, "I made your mouth. I know that you can speak. Don't look to the weaknesses that are pronounced by people. I know what I've put inside of you, and where I'm sending you, I know that what I've put inside of you will be enough to enable you to accomplish that for which I've sent you." I think a life that is going to have great impact is a life that would use up its talents. I'm also one of those people who have got the jammer as a sound, as a voice over to my life. Right? I've listened to him for as long as I can remember. You know. Number two, I think that a life that will have great impact is a life that has got courage to pursue new ventures, a pioneering spirit, as Program Director TT was saying. Somebody who would not be rested with what they have, would not be comfortable in their comfort zone. Somebody who will always stretch themselves to get better heights. God says to Joshua, at the occasion when Moses has died, Moses has been a great leader. Moses has done great exploits. He's somebody whose shoes you don't want to be feeling. And Joshua, who's sitting afraid as to what is going to happen next, God says to him, "Joshua, there is many more land to be taken. Arise, you and these great people. only be strong and courageous. Of the many things that God could have said to Joshua when he was facing this mammoth task ahead of him, God says, only be strong and courageous. Only be strong and courageous. Because it takes courage for you to be able to do and undertake new exploits. You know, when you think about it, Bob Mabena left home when he was 18 to go to Putatswana, where by his own account, he hardly knew anybody. It takes courage to leave the comfort of your home, the comfort of friends, to go into a new area. And then he moved to Joburg. You know, I listened to one of the interviews he did. He says, you know, one thing about leaving Radio Bob was that you were living the comfort of a small town where you knew everybody. You had the comfort of I think Arneva Fadi Jetta at the time as a company car. You had the comfort of having a 3-bedroom flat. He said, it was comfort. He had to come to Joburg where he was going to be a nobody. But he took that risk. He plugged courage to take up that new venture. And when he was on the high, like Titi said, when he was on the high go metro, he then decided he was going to go and do something else.
So this is somebody who's not comfortable at the success that he has. He will go and try something else.
Number 3, I think people who build a life of great impact are people who leverage their power for the benefit of others. People who use their influence for the benefit of others. I think it was Romeo Kumalo who spoke about the first time he read news. I read a tweet, who spoke about what Bob Mabena did for her. There are so many people who talk about that. Jesus Christ, who was holy in every way, when he came to the earth, when he came here on this world, he didn't use his holiness to condemn the sinner. He didn't use his righteousness to show the sinner how bad he was. When Jesus Christ came onto this earth, he didn't use his power to show the weak how weak they were. He didn't use his riches to spit upon the poor. Jesus Christ used his power for the benefit of the weak. He used his holiness for the benefit of the sinner. He used his righteousness for the benefit of the unrighteous. He laid down his life so that those who otherwise would have to lay down their lives could pick up their lives. A great life is not a life where you get everything for yourself. A great life is a life where you get everything for yourself so that you can give in to others. God, when he calls Abraham, he says, I will bless you. I will make you into a great nation. But he said, I didn't call you to be a blessed person. I called you to be a blessing unto others. I am blessing you so that you can be blessed. God is making you powerful so that you can be power unto those who are weak. He's making you rich so that you can be riches unto those who are poor. He didn't do this so that you can outshine everybody else. God is making this so that you can shine with everybody else. The talents that God has given you, you have to deploy them for the benefit of others. I think one of the things that we have to ask ourselves, some of us in this generation, is does this status, I was the first black, does it still hold? Let me tell you a simple story. I was the first one at home to finish matric. But let me also tell you I was the firstborn. Go high. Doesn't sound great now, does it? Because by virtue of me being firstborn, I will be the first one to finish matric. Anything else would be a bit more embarrassing if my brother finished matric before me. Some of us are the firstborn of democracies. That's the only reason we're the first black. I'm not saying don't shine Kabu first black, but I'm saying just put it in perspective. That others didn't do it because the system was against them. So when we are successful, let's use that power and that whatever we have for the benefit of others. When we have climbed the ladder, as the proverbial saying, let's not kick the ladder. Let's pull other people to climb the ladder with us. I will never make you cold by sharing the sunlight with you. By me being in the sun with you, I will not diminish the strength of the sun. So let us use whatever God has given us. If you listen to the number of people that have benefited from Bob Mabena opening doors for them, I think we've got a lot that we can learn from that. Number 4, and my last point, those who are people of great impact, they build on the right foundation with the right perspective. Jesus Christ, in the book of John, he says, without me you are nothing. He says, I'm the vine and you are the branches. All who are in me will yield much fruit. He tells a story, Jesus Christ. He tells a parable of 2 people who were building. One, he says, was building on a solid rock. The other one was building on shifting sands. Now, the sad part of that story is that both men were working hard. They both built. They both expended energy. They both employed resources. They both did what was in their best ability to do. In fact, if you came in just before the winds and the rains come, you would think that they both are sitting in the same kind of house. Because sometimes when you are building with an inappropriate material, it doesn't show immediately. It may look like you are successful by employing the wrong tactics. It may look like you are doing well by building on shifting sands. But one day, the testing of life will come. And that which you build, when the storms of life come, will be shown to be exactly what it is. One of the quotes that I want to leave you with, Bob Mabena being interviewed by DJ Sbu, Hustler's Corner. Look, you'll be surprised how much I've been following Bob Mabena, right? You'll really be shocked. But last year he was interviewed by DJ Sbu, Hustler's Corner. DJ Sbu must pay me royalties for this. Towards the end of the show, Bob Mabena says to Sbu, the thing that we don't understand as people is that the man upstairs, this is the phrase he used, the man upstairs does not look at our lives like we look at our lives. We look at our lives from a day-by-day event. We look at our lives as a moment-by-moment event. And this is what he says. Because he, God, is not living in the confines of time. He's standing outside of the times of your life. And he's looking at the totality of your life. And so he is not moved by the ups and downs that you experience every day. Because he's looking at the total picture of your life. And he says, if we could see our lives that way, we would be more excited of our lives. We would understand that just because it's downhill today doesn't mean my life is downhill. Just because it's difficult today doesn't mean it will always be this way. Just because today you could go for Rumungo at Churchville doesn't mean that's the end of my life. Just because now I don't have that relationship with my dad doesn't mean that I amount to nothing. Just because I don't have the networks and the who's who are supporting me doesn't mean my life will amount to nothing. That if we have the perspective, that if we have God on our side, we have all that we need to make a success of our lives. If we build on the right foundation of Christ, the solid rock, if we build on the right foundation or total dependence on him, we are able to, because we know ourselves, that unless we get a chance, if you've got a Toyota Corolla, you take it to Toyota. Or at least it's somebody who knows Toyota. You don't take it to the man of fixing the wheelbarrow, because they wouldn't know what to do with your car. Those of us who've done that, we know how much that cost. Like the Afrikaner said, goed koop is duur koop. That we've taken chances and take it to somebody
Ricky's. I had the pleasure of knowing that he was a provider for the doors that he opened. The doors that he opened for him. And so we pray, God, even as the family is working towards the days of leading him to rest, we ask you that you, through your Holy Spirit, through the power of your intervention, Lord, you will be able to grant them strength and power, comfort and ability to be able to do all that they need to do. We come against any spirit of darkness that will want to overshadow, that will want to intervene, to interfere with the agenda of God for this particular service. That you, God Almighty, will show yourself strong. May many more lives be changed. May many more lives be transformed because of the testimony.
I'm still waiting for them to latch me, so you still have time.
Okay. We thank you and we honor you. In the name of Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Hello? Okay. In the sound studio.
Oh, sound. Okay.
Oh, they've left me. I'm left now.
Okay, let me know.
Yo, what's up? Am I still throwing to bites? Yeah, boo. Yeah, boo. I do. Yes. Okay. Faith Manito. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Cool.
Metro, the Gemma, Metro, Muruti followed the Gemma. The Gemma are where I said now. I said Gemma are where 94.7 and is. See.
Oh, okay. It's fine. Is the framing fine?
When
what do you need from him?
Bishop Sono asked you to come and stand here instead. You knew all the history of what the Gemma meant to you as well. So he didn't, but my goodness. I guess the Gemma played it. We find to the end, it wasn't to the Gemma.
Okay. Yeah, they're coming to us now.
Before I conclude and say
they're coming to us now.
My final words here for
you found it.
Today, let me just take
I'll come to you.
I just want to thank a few people who have helped me this event possible at such short notice. Thank you very much to LEC Catering for you being a part of this and for your support. To Gold Pearl Deco for making this place so beautiful. And to B3 as well for your partnership, which of course will continue as we take the Gemma to his final journey. As I said, the Gemma was defiant to the bitter end. It was not to be denied what was his and the tribute that was his. But in lockdown around, but he wasn't having it. So, I hope we did you proud. You were meticulous in all that you did, the consummate professional. And so I hope we certainly did our part in doing you proud. Rest in peace, Bob. Omoto. Mabena, I promote her name. We really did try to get it out there, but you should have known better. You can touch anything but meet the brand of it. Bob is the brand. But he was named just
What?
on the
10.
day that he was born.
10 minutes.
Moilo.
10 seconds.
Peggy, stand
4,
up.
3, 2, 1.
Sabina. Singana.
Standing by.
The jammer. The beat will go on. You will never be forgotten. You left it all right here. You did it all while you were alive. Final respect to the Mabenas. I want to say to the family first and the children, thank you for sharing Bob with us. Thank you for paying the price for us laying claim to him. Pray God
Certainly not a dry eye in the room today at Powerhouse, as we remembered a legend, a living legend really up until this week, who graced the airwaves for over 3 decades. I don't think anybody who's in the broadcast industry right now doesn't know who Bob Mabena is or his contribution to this industry. Really described as somebody who was a consummate professional, kind, warm, humble, despite his popularity. We heard tributes from some of his closest friends, childhood friends, who promised to take care of his family. We heard from industry colleagues such as Malini Bala, who've also become friends, saying that Bob Mabena during their days at Studio Mix would ensure that she always got home safely. That Bob Mabena was somebody who loved by the actions that he did. So love for him wasn't just a word, it was really a doing word. And I'm also joined by another industry colleague, Ms. Penny Lebiane. Thank you so much for joining us. Of course, a very, very sad day, but also a celebration, I think, of a legend that is Bob Mabena.
Most definitely, even under the conditions of COVID-19, his spirit is with us. His energy, his pureness of love was felt in Powerhouse, who was truly power. Power in its form of its warmness, power in its form of encouragement, power in its form of love, because love is power, and that's what Khomotso, Bob Mabena, the Gemma, is. And I think he's going to continue to be that, because the children when they're on stage, Clementine, Dimakatso, they personified that. You could see that love was poured into them. And I think we're grateful to his grandmother for pouring that love to him, and the love that he poured into his children, because then he leaves this place a better place with amazing children who are like that, who will continue their father's legacy from a place of love.
And of course the industry much poorer without him.
Most definitely. He's what we'll call the benchmark. He set the pace, he set the standards. He was a cool kid who evolved but never lost his coolness, especially for our male hosts. As females, we're expected to turn a few tricks and turn yourself into something else over and over again. A lot of our male colleagues can just sit back and not be interested in the issues of our country. They can just continue to be bad boys and play music and not be interested in social issues. Bob put his heart in it, and he really tried to get some of the younger generation of male broadcasters to understand the importance of the power of sitting behind the mic. That yes, it comes with power and the personality that you have, but it comes with a lot of responsibility, especially for a country like ours, because we're a developmental state in spite of ourselves. We're just a country that's blessed, but we're in the continent, in sub-Saharan Africa. We have a potential to be in the third world. It's just because we are lucky about how our country turned out. So those of us who have an opportunity to sit behind microphones or with microphones and pens, we have a responsibility to empower, to educate, to impart, to shape minds, and to heal our nation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gani. I don't think I can sum it up as best as that, Shahan. Bob Mabena has really left an indelible mark, and the broadcast industry much poorer without him. He will be laid to rest at this weekend.